In these last few years, we have seen Agenda Piece completely take over the fandom. Every One Piece fan has an agenda or two to follow, and even having some anti-agendas alongside that. Now, I've talked about my fair share of characters on this channel, but one I haven't made a video on yet that I support very heavily is Loki. Elbaf has been a fun arc so far, but every time Loki is on screen, I find myself getting very excited. Even more hyped for Loki than I was for Rocks. And in today's video, I'll be discussing why you should join me and many others in joining the Loki agenda. What's up guys, my name is Vertics, and if you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out quality content weekly you won't want to miss. Now, many agendas go off strength, which Loki certainly has a lot of, but what also helps is when that character personally resonates with the reader. And if it wasn't for Loki's backstory and overall character, I wouldn't root for him as hard as I do. As in the first few seconds of his life, he was already given one of the most unfortunate hands in life, as the narrator says. The most unfortunate of all living creatures is the one whose very existence is denied by its mother in the moment of its birth. As Estrid immediately hated Loki off just his appearance and had him thrown down the underworld, where he fortunately lived and climbed back up covered in blood. When she finds this out, she orders for his eyes to be gouged out, and was a major asset in why Elbaf hated Loki so much. She made sure to cover up everything and spread the supposed curse of Loki across the land. And this entire time, his father was nowhere to be found until Estrid's death, where he foolishly believed that Loki was sad because of her death. And it's there the narrator digs the hole even deeper, saying, "At just a few months old, Loki abandoned any hope for love." I'm not going to discuss too much how foolish Harold was here, since I just made a very detailed video going over this, but even when Rocks came into Elbaf and gave Loki hope in life, he would have to watch his father reject Rocks' help multiple times and even try to kill him. His biological parents were horrible to him, and the only person that ever showed him any type of genuine love was Ida. Yet even this was taken away from him after she was poisoned, and in result, my man Loki stood on business. Now, he did get locked up following this, but immediately afterwards, he would be called into Harold's chambers, where he is told he has to eat the forbidden devil fruit and kill Harold. Despite how naive and absent Harold was in Loki's life, Loki still didn't want to kill his father and tells him that ordering him to do this sinks very low. We then see Loki hit Harold with Ragnir and kill him just as he asked. And despite having Ja Rule, Shanks, Gabon, and the soldiers present to back his word up that Harold ordered Loki to kill him, Loki understood that it would just cause the other giants to dismiss everything Harold ever did, and with Ragnir, he could settle all of his regrets. This is something he did not have to do. He could have let the other giants know and avoided all the extra hate that came his way. Yet he wanted to honor his father's legacy, and while half of Harold's body lies on the ground, Loki would say, "So this is what he gets for loving his country too much." Showing Loki has not just the emotional attachment and of course aura, but he even has honor to him. Ever since the very first moments of his life, he was constantly dealt an unfortunate hand. Yet even when given countless reasons to betray Elbaf or walk away, Loki chose to stay chained up and burdened even more hatred amongst his own people, all to honor his father's legacy, despite having many reasons not to do so. He's not just a powerful warrior, but a deep intellectual with a lot of emotional attachment for the reader to enjoy. Now, like I said before, When it comes to agendas, the reason most people choose to follow whichever one they do is because of that character's power. And while we haven't seen all that many feats from him yet, we could still use the ones that he has shown along with some good old chain scaling to make a pretty good deduction on how powerful this man Loki is. Being a giant amongst giants, Loki is blessed with immense physical strength and durability that not many can handle. When he was in cuffs, he would have an interaction with Shamrock and Gunko, where he endured multiple of their attacks, but more importantly, a head-on attack from Shamrock's Cerberus Devil Fruit, which violently pierced his body. If he wasn't in chains, Gunko definitely wouldn't have landed a single hit on him, and Shamrock wouldn't have pierced him so easily. Yet despite being defenseless, he still endured these attacks. Unfortunately though, we don't know the scale of Shamrock's attack yet, as he is the last hope of the Holy Frauds agenda, but having the Shanks' brother tax, I'm sure Oda won't let him go out like his co-workers. However, while Gunko of course isn't as strong, she could still do more damage to Gaban, who just like Loki was also defenseless. He's definitely going to be one of the most durable characters we have seen in the series, but where he really shines is his attack potency, as the guy was able to clash evenly with Herald before getting Ragnir, but once he eats the Forbidden Devil Fruit and gets his hands on Ragnir is where everything changes. You see, the Devil Fruit wasn't eaten, not because of choice, but because Ragnir never deemed anyone worthy until Loki showed up, and the moment he obtained it, Loki would pretty much easily defeat a Domi reversed Herald. And this is nothing to scoff at, as Domi Herald is one of the strongest characters of all time. The dude beforehand was already able to clash with rocks on an equal playing field, and then had years to grow stronger as he stood. He then would gain the Immortality Seal, which granted him even more immense strength, and of course immortality that I would say gets him past base rocks. The guy endured ACOG attacks from Shanks and Gaban, and as his seal grew stronger, he would start to tank these attacks. But when Loki eats his Devil Fruit, he would land several attacks onto Herald before landing an advanced Conqueror's Haki and lightning-filled attack that inevitably killed Herald. Now, I will say that I think Herald did everything he could to restrain himself in his last moments, but it doesn't change the fact that this attack was so powerful that it could achieve what Prime Gaban and Young Shanks together couldn't do. And it literally blasted this man Herald apart, and even Emu feels the repercussion and hypes up Loki a bit themselves, meaning that Loki scales above Domi Herald, who I stated before, scales above base rocks. This guy is not to be messed with in the slightest, and we haven't even seen his full capabilities as of yet. As at the end of the most recent chapter, during the time of this recording, Loki would use an ice ability and Niflheim on a Draugr, and since it was the end of the chapter, we have to see the aftermath of this attack, but it's safe to say that Loki will mop the floor with the Draugr, and most likely help the giants escape Emu's grasp. Now, I must address the elephant in the room, his loss to Shanks several years ago. For starters, I must say, losing to Shanks isn't a bad feat in the slightest, but what I have to bring up is how Loki calls Shanks a coward. Being the powerhouse and honorable man he is, I don't think Loki is saying this to rage bait Luffy. I think that Shanks genuinely pulled off some unhonorable act in their fight. I do still think they are on the same level of strength, but if Shanks had to cheat in order to beat Loki, then I just can't place Shanks above him. Loki is truly one of the strongest living beings the One Piece world has and will ever see, and even his future remains bright, and another reason for you to join the Loki agenda. as he will help Luffy and the Straw Hats chase the Holy Knights off Elbaf and most likely scare the shit out of Imu once again. With Imu taking possession of Gonko, I can imagine an interaction with Loki and Imu will take place with Luffy alongside. On top of this, we still have to see the rest of his Devil Fruit and what it has to offer. His transformation remains to be unseen, and there's potential that his eyes will have some special ability. This is going more into speculation territory, but don't be surprised if Loki's eyes help him pull more abilities out of his ass. At this point, the sky is the limit for the dude, and even in the endgame of One Piece, he will play a very big role in the final war, and maybe even help Luffy fight alongside Imu and the Gorosei. I'm hoping he will have a big one-on-one fight with someone at some point, and that Elbaf as a whole will see they were very wrong to judge Loki the way they did. From the very beginning moments of his life, he defied all odds and grew to be one of One Piece's fastest growing loved characters. And I hope after watching this video, you will take my hand and join me on the Loki agenda. Well, that's it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps with the algorithm and is very appreciated. Shout out to Tiberius for the thumbnail. Make sure to hit him up on Twitter, link in the description, as well as my Twitter at Vertics_ for more of my takes. And without further ado, you guys can get out of here.